The Other Side Media Group and 91X now present The Other Side Radio Show, a program about people who make a difference from all walks of life in Quinte and beyond. And now here are your hosts, Jeremy and Joshua Davis.
Hello and welcome again to The Other Side. I'm Jeremy T. Davis, and it's great to be back. And joining us is Pastor Rob Wiesner. Welcome back. It's great to have you.
It's always good to be here with you guys, Jeremy. Thank you for having me.
Now, first of all, Pastor Rob, can you start out by telling us why you became a pastor in the first place?
Oh, that's easy, Jeremy. It was for the big bucks and all the vacation time. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, no. I originally wanted to be in the military. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And unfortunately, I had an accident and had injured my eyes, and my vision changed. And I had to make a career path change in my life. And I had always been interested in religion. I'd always been interested in cultures and different religions. And I thought, why not? Let's explore some of that, see what the opportunities are there. And, lo and behold, feeling that call into ordained ministry got stronger and stronger over the years. I did a religious studies degree in university, and it was during my time in university that I really felt that call more and more into ordained ministry. So I took a 3-month trip to India in 2000 and immersed myself in another culture and another religion for 3 months, and came back really reinvigorated, as it were, to follow through on this call into ordained ministry, but with a massively huge appreciation for other religions and other perspectives and other worldviews. And I did seminary, and shortly after my graduation, I was ordained, and I've been ordained now for, I think, 18 years.
Wow, how fast time goes. And Pastor Rob, if I might ask you this question, how do you feel that we can, redefine today's issues facing society through the modern church as a whole? I know it's a big one, but I just thought we better get into it.
Sure. Well, Jeremy, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it? Or the $1 million question. Every religion in the world is wrestling with the reality of our modern world right now. And not that the modern world is bad or wrong or anything like that, but we've got many, many things that call for our attention and call for our kind of allegiance, if you will. I know it's a strong word, but we have all sorts of things that are going on in our world right now, not the least of which is, almost 3 years of a global pandemic. There's political polarization. There's the rise of extreme nationalism south of the border in this country, in different parts of the world. There's, and there continues to still be the things that we have struggled with as a species for a long, long time, poverty, the imbalance of power in various places where power, is used. We continue to struggle with the changing climate, and our role in speeding that process along. People are frustrated, people are angry, people are down, people are anxious, they're depressed. There's a lot going on, and people are carrying a huge, heavy burden right now. And, what can the church specifically do to help that? That's the big, tough question, and lots of different Christian denominations are asking those questions. One of the things that I would suggest, that the church continues to do is to practice the ministry of presence. Just be there for people. It doesn't mean that, people need to become members. It doesn't mean that people have to, bust down the door to get in kind of thing. But it's, It's not about that, and I know there's people who are going to argue with me on that we need more bums in the pews and we need wallets in those back pockets and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that is a reality. But for me, that's not even a secondary thing. That's further down the priority list. For me, it's about changing people's lives and making sure people feel valued and worthwhile and loved and cared for, that people, feel heard and appreciated. What the church can provide, and I think any religion can provide this as well, is, again, presence, but also, understanding and a little bit of grace, maybe a whole lot of love. And again, how do we do that? We try to bring people in for various community events. We try to reach out into the community. Where is a need? How can we help? What can we do to help the community? What can we do to help people in need? There's so much in our community right now that different churches and different faith groups can help with.
Well, absolutely. And I thought it was very important and very relevant to bring up that today because, we're talking about the role that you play within the church, but we all have a role and a responsibility to each other to help to heal where we can and to fill that void. You're not supposed to put church and state together, but I do want to say, and I was talking before we hit the air today, that some of those issues, some of those societal issues that you were just speaking about are the very issues and the very foundation in which I decided to run this past year for municipal office. And just because it didn't necessarily turn out the way that I had hoped in gaining a seat does not mean that my commitment or my responsibility will ever waver on those things. In terms of, we have a crisis of housing affordability. We have the issue of food insecurity. We have all those things, and we need all the voices and everyone at the table to come together as a community, work together with our elected leaders and other organizations and the churches and so on to solve and get positive resolve for those issues. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. Just like the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes an entire community to make that community successful and, healthy, thrive in various ways that communities can thrive, and to be there for each other and to be there to lend a hand, or if there's an issue or there's a situation that arises, that we band together and we pull up our sleeves and we get our hands dirty and get in there and, work at it together so that we can fix or remedy that issue. It's funny that you said, we shouldn't mix religion and politics and things like that, church and state. It's such a funny thing, and I agree to a certain extent, that yes, it's good that they've been separated in those ways, and yet I find that there's a lot of political and religious illiteracy, if you will, out there, because we don't talk about it, quote unquote, in polite company, right? And, and I don't mean that as a mean thing to say, it's just, the reality. People don't talk about that stuff, so they don't necessarily know. And yet, one of the things that I often do when it comes to election times and at all different levels of government is, I don't let my politics shape my theology. I let my theology shape my political leanings, right? And that's, again, where I think people of faith can have an impact, if there is, a affordable housing crisis, if there is food insecurity, if there is job insecurity, there's whatever the issue may be, if people of faith that are taught to be loving and kind and generous and compassionate and all of those wonderful things, if we use that as a guide for whom we vote for, then that does and can make a big difference. So yeah, it can help, and I know people of all religious leanings have, beliefs that teach them to look out for other people, to love one another, to be generous, to be kind, so it sometimes perplexes me that these issues still sometimes exist in a world like the modern world, or in modern North America specifically. If we all were able to kind of pool our collective, beliefs together around something, around justice or around love or compassion, just imagine what could happen to fix an issue or to remedy an issue.
Well, absolutely, Pastor Rob. And the thing is, just to add to that a little bit before we move on, just imagine how much faster we could possibly get to that positive resolve on the issue, because we're all banding together and we're all focusing on it. This past election campaign was a great experience. I met more and more people than ever before. And of course, everyone is entitled to their viewpoint. I thank everyone for their support. I did have, and I don't have to mention names, I did have one individual who I didn't know, who was talking with someone else on social media and made reference to, I'm not sure about my support, because they made reference to because of my religious belief or what have you. And I just want to clarify that I have never in any of my campaigns or such, I've never forced or made anyone believe anything. I offer what I feel, and it goes back to what you were saying. We can learn from one another. There's all different perspectives, and that's what we should build a foundation on. We're not putting one religion or one style of politics over another. It's just identifying the need, being there, investing in our people and investing in community. And that's how that's how positive things happen. And perhaps the next, if I can use this word loosely, the next reformation of society could happen within the foundations of our city, community, and indeed our country. Any further comment on that?
Yeah, every time these kinds of conversations come up, when it comes to like different political views or different religious views or whatever it may be, where you get two or more people together in one room, you're going to have that many potentially different ideas and opinions on any issue, right? And so I think, the political platforms that different candidates bring with them are potentially just different ways of approaching the topic at hand, or the issue in society at hand, right? And, what could one do? What could one not do? It's all just different things. Same thing in the world of, faith and religion. It's just different ways of understanding the divine. It's just different ways of approaching, the Dalai Lama has a famous quote, just because I'm a spicy food eater doesn't mean that you have to be a spicy food eater. Maybe what is better for your system is something less spicy, but it doesn't agree with me, what you're eating, but my spicy food agrees with me. But that doesn't mean that we can't share a meal together in some way and appreciate something together, you know. But it also made me think again, and this will certainly, you know, show everybody my musical tastes, but you know, one of my favorite bands is Metallica, and they have a song in which one of the lyrics says, "You can't get lightning without the positives and the negatives." And that quote in that song has always stuck with me, because it's not without the both sides or three sides or four sides of a conversation for that creative spark to happen. It doesn't mean we all have to agree with each other, but somewhere in that dialogue, an idea can come forward, and maybe it's a different way that any of us would look at and say, hey, wow, I never thought of it like that. Maybe we can do blah, blah, blah. And that might generate some forward momentum on any given issue. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know, but again, it's a lot of polarization right now, and a lot of, you know, partisan politics and, you know, all that stuff, and, you know, everybody else is wrong, and it's kind of weird and scary right now out there in the world of politics, and out in this country and down south of the border and in different parts of the world. But, you know, I'm hoping the more we kind of get out of this global pandemic, people will slowly return to some sense of kind of moderate, you know, temperament again.
Well, absolutely. And Pastor Rob, I want to say, too, that there wouldn't be a moment of anything that I've done in my life thus far in that regard that I would change. It's as you have often said in your sermons or other guest speaking engagements that you do, you're actively involved with your entire family in the community. You're an inspiration to us and so many, your entire family. As you said, it's a different, like you have to allow yourself to see a different way of being and offer a different perspective. And we all have our own talents. And when you were saying too that we don't always have to agree with one another, well, that makes healthy democracy. That makes healthy dialogue with anything. And so, what would you say? Just moving on here, what would you say, in your personal opinion, in 2022, we could do to get people out there to take another look at not only Holy Trinity, but the church in a whole, and get involved to help bring about their voice and bring about change and support to the people who need it in what we do within our mission as the wider church?
Well, Jeremy, I think, you know, again, that's a loaded question. And no, I appreciate that. You know, it's, again, you know, you're asking me about, you know, Holy Trinity specifically. You know, but I know, again, all denominations, all religious organizations out there right now are struggling through the pandemic and struggling with the modernity of our world and you know, all the many different things that are bombarding us for time and attention and our resources, you know, again, of time, talent, and treasure. You know, I hope that I can say this on behalf of all faith groups, you know, not just my own, but, you know, we as religious groups are here to, you know, help create, you know, a better world and a different type of world, better, stronger communities, healthier communities, by being organizations that work for our community and work within the community and work alongside our community, you know. And I think it's just having us reach out and create new connections, new networks, new partnerships. You know, I'm so delighted that we have Belleville International that uses our building on Friday evenings for their mentoring, for sharing of meals, and for worship. You know, I've been invited to a few of their events. What an incredible community, you know, and they've been invited to some of our events, and they were able to help out with our Oktoberfest. This intercultural exchange was really, really important and really helpful, and it was wonderful to see. You know, it's things like that that I think people need to see. You know, the church, for so much of its history, and religion in general for much of its history, you know, and again, I don't want a whitewash statement here, but, you know, have often been very, very rigid and strict and harsh with rules and theology, and, you know, you must believe this or you're going to, you know, receive this kind of a punishment or whatever. You know, that type of religion has had its time and its place, and it's no longer helpful in a world like today, you know, and so we, you know, it's, you know, we, you know, as followers of the teachings of Jesus, we see it very differently, you know, and it's about connection. It's about meeting people where they are, as they are, not making people jump through hoops to meet our needs. It's got to be the other way around. It's about us being humble enough to say, what is your need? How can we help you? You know, it's about, again, connecting, networking, and building connections and partnerships. And I also think it's about repurposing our buildings. You know, a lot of these church buildings sit empty throughout the week. What a great way for the community to enter into the church building and for the church to connect with the community than to open the doors to other organizations or groups that are looking for space to meet. And then there's ways to connect, and, you know, you never know. Maybe there's a project that the 2 or 3 or 4 groups can do together by pooling people, power, and resources together. You know, what a wonderful thing that looks like. You know, I know it feels great here in Holy Trinity and other churches in town that do that. But just imagine if we could broaden that circle even wider, and just, it'd be amazing. Yeah.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring that up myself, and the time goes so quickly. But we'll have to have you back. We could have you back for a whole series on its own. But that is one of the things that I'm very proud of, witnessing and seeing with my friends, family, or extended family, is Belleville has seen an emergence and an expansion in cultural diversity. You know, and to me, it's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's imperative, you know, as we welcome people from all over and all other countries, you know, many of which are going through Loyalist College. We just witnessed the wonderful Diwali celebration, which is their festival of lights. And as we know, every different denomination celebrates light over darkness. So it's about seeing our commonalities, but it's also about making new friends, connecting, sharing, and building community together. And I was so honored to just meet with everyone when I was out there, and I'm going to continue to do that. We'll do that through Other Side Media. I hope to work with the Belleville Inclusion Committee and other committees this upcoming term, so that we can continue growing, because the only way to reflect diversity at the table is to have every voice and every one possible represented. And when we do that, and when we are willing to open our eyes to something that might not be something that is not something that we're used to seeing, but we welcome, we all learn from it. we grow from it, and we turn into a much better and more progressive city. And this is why, I might, I don't want to put myself in there, but I just want to answer one question that was out there. Some individuals might look at me and just see a challenge. I look at myself and I look at others around me and look at what people can offer and look beyond that. And together we can build. And no challenge is too big for me or the community. We just have to make sure that we make it an opportunity, whatever life throws us in the way. Would you concur?
The world is getting thrown a lot of curveballs right now, and there's a lot of challenges out in the world. And, with everything that's gone on with the pandemic and with all the other things that are going on, people are maxed out, people are tapped out, people are just so beyond in many ways, and yet at the same time, I have seen so many wonderful and beautiful examples of community coming together and to help one another and to care for each other and to look out for each other, to do, whatever needs to be done to make sure that we can get through the pandemic well, that we can find, affordable housing for people that need it, that people can get fed the food that they need to survive from day to day. Again, it's a double-edged sword. It's a two-sided coin, and it's a challenge for sure, And I think of people like you and your brother and your family. I think of people here in this church. I think of people in other churches in Belleville and the surrounding area. People from Belleville International. People from the Sikh community, the Hindu community, the Buddhist community, the Jewish community, Baha'i community, who also have gone and done anything and everything that they can do to bring the community together in this time of need, and also reach out, more broadly to make sure that people can make it through all of this well, and come back to a place of quote unquote normalcy. Again, I don't even know what that looks like anymore or feels like anymore, but you know what I'm trying to say is that we try to get back to something, and yet at the same time we can't go back because that's the stuff that got us to where we are now. You know what I mean? So there's a bit of, we have to give up and let go of some things in order to get to something new.
Well, I just want to say, Pastor Rob, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a true inspiration and a true leader and pillar in our community. Our family and I are most grateful for that, for your sacrifice in your life for service, as well as your families, and we look forward to the future. I'd like to also extend an invitation for people wishing to find out more about Holy Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church. You can visit hteLC.ca on the World Wide Web. We will have Advent and Christmas activities and services, and we'd love for you to join us at 516 Victoria Avenue. Any other parting words? This is such a good conversation. I don't want it to end, but we'll have to have you back, and we'll see everybody next week.
Yes, Jeremy, time flies often when we are together and chatting. Again, for anybody that's listening, I would just say, again, I don't want to sound cliche, but it is always darkest before the dawn, and I know that the sunshine is going to come again, and it will come. And, if there's anything that I or any of the other religious leaders of our community can do for you, please feel free to reach out to any of us. You know, we are here to serve our community and to help where we can. So, yeah, if you feel like you want to come check out Holy Trinity, you're more than welcome to. If you want to try somewhere else, you go right there. And wherever you are comfortable and find, you know, a connection and a sense of belonging and a sense of maybe, I don't know, is liberation too strong a word for all the things that we are going through right now? A sense of kind of liberating freedom from overwhelming fear and stress and anxiety. That's wonderful. You know, that's the point. You know, so I hope that, you know, that any of us in our community that are here to help can do that. And thanks for having me on again, Jeremy, and I look forward to being back again sometime.
Well, absolutely. You're perhaps one of our most requested guests, and a lot of food for thought. And what I like about our conversation is we can, you know, discuss a wide variety of issues ranging from theology to our modern world. And I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. It's great to be back for a brand new season of the Other Side Radio Show. Happy 30th anniversary to 91X FM. We're proud to be a part of the family, Joshua and I and everyone with the Other Side Media Group. And we will see you next week, and we'll see you back out around town too. And thank you, Belleville and Quinny, for your support. The best is yet to come. God bless.
The Other Side Radio Show is a production of the Other Side Media Group in association with 91X. You can connect on Facebook at the Other Side Media Group, Instagram at Jeremy Tyler Davis, or on YouTube at Jeremy T. Davis, Belleville, Ontario for on-demand episodes and more. Tune in next week for another episode of the Other Side Radio Show.